Hi, welcome to the Let's Talker Show. I'm DV LeBron. Do you have construction needs around the house? Maybe your roof needs to be redone, or maybe you want to build a new patio. Check out K&H Construction. Chris Helms, he's a local guy out of Waxahachie. He'll take care of you and let him know DV LeBron sent you. Today, my very special guest is the president of Midlothian ISD School Board, Mr. Ryan Tim, who's also first term. Now he's president. Boy, he's got the reins. And Dr. David Belding, who is the superintendent of MISD. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, DV.
I want to say from the onset, Mr. Tim, you came in there and now, this is your first term and you've dealt with a whole lot of stuff on the board side, the politics side, on the decision side. And I've kept all of you guys in prayer because there's been some big decisions and you've had to be part of this one. And then your colleagues thought so much of you that they made you the president of the board. And now you're leading the district. Congratulations, sir. I'm very happy about that.
Man, DV, I tell you what, I greatly appreciate that, man. It's a great place to be. It still feels weird to hear somebody say president. I joked with Dr. Belding and said, do I type that in as my name, President Ryan Tim? But I'm not going to do that. I'm lucky and blessed to be on this board. And all I do now is sit in the middle and try not to make too many stupid jokes.
Here, I'll put that in the banner. Board President Ryan Tim. There it is. I wanted to have you guys on to give an update on the school and then especially the budget, because we're in budget time. We're just completing the budget. There's tax rates, and then there's more. There's bonds, there's Vaders, there's discussions about all kinds of things. And I know that this budget process has been rough. There's been a lot of decisions that you guys have had to make that are really hard. And then you had, Austin doing what Austin does, and then having to adjust for what Austin does. And are they going to give us more or are they going to give us less? But before I get into all that good stuff, I wanted to go ahead and have you guys introduce yourselves, starting with Mr. Tim.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Ryan Tim. I am the lucky board member, place number 3 for Midlothian ISD. Like DV said, this is just started my second term. I'm a proud resident of Midlothian, business owner here in Midlothian with my amazing wife, Megan, who owns a salon here. 2 great kiddos who are students of Midlothian, and that's why I wanted to serve, because that's where my heart goes, to those kiddos. I've got a 12-year-old who's going to be in 7th grade, crazy, named Charlie, and a 3rd grader, Maggie, at McClatchy, who I keep telling her, hey, you're in the big kid side of school now. You are in 3rd grade. I'll have to fight back the tears talking about that because it seems like yesterday I just walked her into kindergarten. So, happy to be here, ready to talk about the district and the great, amazing things going on here.
And they do grow way too fast. But Dr. Belding, if you could introduce yourself to the community for those who don't know the great Dr. Belding.
Thank you for that. Yes, I'm David Belding, and yes, I love all the Saved by the Bell jokes that people say to me whenever they hear my last name for the first time. It's all good. I'm just honored to be the superintendent in Midlothian ISD. I will have my 2nd year anniversary in the district this coming October. It has flown by. We've done a lot of great work. We have a fantastic board. Our teachers, our staff love kids, are committed to doing what's best for children. And then our students are just fantastic, and our families. So this is a really special place at a special time.
Dr. Belding, now that it's been 2 years, and I remember having you on shortly after you got on, and I talked to you about culture. Tell me about that road that you've been on for the last 2 years in setting the culture.
Sure. And the culture in our district is continuing to grow in a positive direction. I think when I came in, I really went on a listening tour with staff, with our parent advisory group, our student advisory. We met with every faculty at all the campuses. I met with all the operational staff, individual meetings with principals and central office personnel, and just really just wanted to listen to their perspective, wanted to listen to where they felt like the strengths of the district were and where opportunities for improvement were. And it was just a great learning experience for me. And so we've been able to take that information and take action and specific steps to grow the teamwork, grow the unity, and be all in for kids every single day. And the thing that drives me and makes me want to get up and come to work in the morning is not going to my office and doing things there. It's seeing our kids succeed, seeing them do what they love to do and have great learning experiences. And when I go to our campus, and I interact with the kids, I just love how they talk about their teachers and how much they appreciate and love their teachers because their teachers love them. So that piece of it. And continue to grow the culture, right? We're all in this together. We're a team because when we work together, partner with parents, partner with our community and with our staff, the kids are well served. And that's where my focus is.
Mr. Tim, your first term on this, tell me about what it's like sitting on that dais, some of the mistakes you made and some of the things you've learned, because I know that I get told this by almost every elected official who comes into some kind of elected office in Ellis County. It's like drinking out of a fire hose. You're trying to get this all in, learn this stuff. So tell me about your experience and we'll move on.
Yeah, absolutely. But before I do that, DV, and I apologize, I'm going to jump back to Dr. Belding because that shows you the absolute great leader that he is. He kept talking about everybody else around him and all the things that he's done or that they have done that make this a great culture. But the reason that culture is the way it is because it starts at the top. And you want an example of that. I was lucky enough on this board to be able to extend Dr. Belding's contract. And when we did that, the administrators in the back of the room stood up and clapped. That right there is a perfect example of building culture. And part two of that is all those administrators that were standing up clapping, every single one of them are back this year. So that is how you build culture and that is how you take care of families. And so he's a modest guy, but I'm not going to let him be in this moment. So, I need to brag on Dr. Belding a little bit in that manner. But as far as me on the board, I was lucky enough with my education background that some of that fire hose, I thought I knew it all coming in. And so that side of it, I had it down, but I still got hammered from the fire hose on the opposite side, learning what it's like behind the curtain, walking back into that executive session the first time and seeing, oh man, these are where those decisions are made. This is why it goes. He said, we have a great board. All six of my other fellow board members helped carry me through that first year, helped me learn. Mike Dillo, we miss him on the board. We wish him the best. He was a great asset and a great teacher for me to see how to sit back and listen. I did that kind of like what Dr. Belding said in his first year. You sit back and listen and you learn. And when the time is appropriate, you speak up. That was one of the best things that I learned from Mike. And I miss him on the board, but now our new member, John Knight, has stepped in and he's flying. All the things I've been able to do and the fact that I now get the opportunity to serve as president, again, is because of the people around me. So it's been fun. Oh, heck yeah, I made mistakes and said dumb things and asked dumb questions, but we all do. And then we learn from it.
That's all part of it. Dr. Belding, you're getting ready to roll into a new year. This train starts again. I'm going to briefly touch on last year and some of those things that you're really proud of and what's going on with this year, your expectations. Let's go into that real quick before we go into that other stuff.
Sure. And I hope just get comfortable because we have a lot to talk about on all the accomplishments last year because, we had a great year. And one of the things I was, seriously kidding about at one point, I was telling the high school principals, both of them, we all need to be multiple places at once because we just keep winning. And the kids, whether it's on the sports team or in our fine arts area, academic competitions, our kids experienced a great deal of success last year. It was fun because when your baseball teams are playing after the school year is over, as a matter of fact, Heritage played on the day of graduation in a playoff series. That tells you that your programs are being successful. And Our softball teams went deep into the playoffs. Soccer at MHS was in the Final Four, if I remember correctly. And then we had two wrestlers that won state, one from each high school. One is a freshman over at MHS, and a young lady over at Heritage won state and beat somebody out in our district, in our wrestling district, to win that state championship. And so swimming and diving, we went to the state meet. I think for the first time we had students at the state meet there, and we had kids at the state track meet. We had all-state band kids. We had our theater department with multiple awards for the Dallas Musical Association, and we had outstanding musical, outstanding choreography, and both high schools were nominated. We had one act play that made it to state. We had, Destination Imagination teams went to globals. Our choirs did really well. Our drill teams were successful at competitions. I'm trying to think of everything else. We had one of our artists won Congressman Elzey's local district art show and has her artwork displayed at the Capitol.
That is cool.
For a year. And appreciate Congressman Elzey for sponsoring that and pouring into our kids and things. I know I'm leaving things out, like at a tennis doubles that made it to the state tournament. You hate to list it because I know I'm leaving people out, but our kids really distinguished themselves athletically, fine arts, in ag. We had multiple kids winning around the state. We had in entrepreneurship, we had kids doing really well in DECA and HOSA, all of those. I mean, I could just go on and on, DB. It just shows the quality of the programming that we have of our academic program, as well as just the quality of our kids. They're competitive. They put in the work, and I'm excited. And our teachers and coaches. We deployed a new kind of instructional philosophy throughout the district to try to unify, the delivery of instruction and actually moving away from some technology and using that as a tool as opposed to the delivery system. And we had great success there because our teachers embraced that and utilized that. And we're not getting rid of technology because that's an important piece of the puzzle, but going back to more, physical writing, handwriting and math, manipulatives, hands-on. And so our teachers really embraced that instructional delivery cycle. And our kids, I think, flourished from it. So, I'm really excited and proud of the accomplishments of last year. And the great thing about school is when you wrap up a school year, then you get to do it all again. Okay. And we get to have new opportunities. So looking ahead, we're going to build on the academic gains that we made last year and build on the reading gains that we had and the math gains, especially at the lower elementary level. And our principals have been working really hard to hire great teachers for our kids and being really proactive and aggressive in filling positions. We haven't had a great deal of teacher turnover, but we've had some, and they certainly have worked hard to fill those jobs. Like Mr. Tim talked about just a second ago, all of our principals are back this year, and we really only have we have two new assistant principals in the district, and one of those positions was created because we added an assistant principal job at Heritage, and we had a Ms. Quintero moved over from Frank Seal to Heritage. So we have a new AP at Frank Seal and a new AP over at JAV. And those are the only two new campus administrators throughout the whole district. So that consistency and that having that leadership, because as the principal goes, so goes the building. They are key. And having the great leaders there really, really important to this year and to that success. So we can cement those initiatives that we launched last year and meeting the needs of all of our students, no matter what program they're a part of. We want to have excellence throughout the whole district.
Dr. Belding, I want to put you on the spot. Which high school is better at sports?
Which high school is better at sports? If you've ever seen me on a night where I have a red hat and then I go change to the blue hat because I support both of them. And you know what? I bet if you compared records, you would see they're pretty even. And I love, you know what I love about our high schools more than anything else, and our cheerleaders displayed this at the UIL Spirit Championships where both squads made the finals. But if I remember correctly, I think MHS went first in the prelims, and the Heritage cheerleaders were right there in front supporting the MHS cheerleaders. And then when Heritage went an hour later, the MHS cheerleaders were right there in front supporting their friends in the community. And I see that from both high schools throughout all the programs. They support each other. Now, when they're competing against each other, they really like to win. And stuff. But boy, when we're playing other people, they're supporting their friends across town. So that's really, really special. I see that in fine arts as well as athletics.
That was good, Dr. Belding. Yeah. I see what you did there. That was pretty slick. I like that. Okay, so guys, I wanted to have you on to talk about this budget and tax year and all that stuff I had mentioned at the beginning. This season, when you wrote into budget, there was some really hard things you were looking at. There was a big number, 6.something million, 6.3, I think it was, or 6.5 million, that was staring at you guys right in the face. There was, you guys were looking at cuts, open district. There was all kinds of anything, like you had to consider everything, right? Because you got such a deep hole that something's got to give, right? There's a lot that's happened since then. And you guys actually, I believe you finalized your budget, and then you had the returns come in for the valuation, so you could set the tax rate, Mr. Tim, I think.
Correct.
And then there's a lot of things that happen. So let's go from the beginning. What were you looking at so that people know, and then we'll work our way through how budget talks went.
Sure. And in 24-25, the projected deficit was a little over $6 million. And so as we were started building the 25-26 budget, we were really looking at a similar deficit. And man, we've been through so many budget workshops at this point. I'm having trouble remembering all the details, but it seems like that was with a raise, if we gave some type of raise. And this was all before the new legislation with House Bill 2. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm all about options, and I'm all about collaborating with the board on possibilities. And I think one of my roles is not to come and say, this is what we have to do. It's, okay, here's what our situation is, and here are different pathways of improving that situation. And part of it is continuing to look for savings everywhere we possibly can, but without cutting into programs and the student experience. And we were getting early on, it was like, I mean, we could run one more deficit, but then we're going to have to start looking at student programs and what are we not going to continue to offer, because there's only so much on the operations side that you can cut and still run. Okay, so that's where like thinking about accepting student transfers from outside the district, because the way the state funding formula is, you know, one of the ways to get more revenue is you have more students. So is that something we wanted to consider? So we wanted to have the conversation, and then looking for savings and continuing to look for ways to supplement and increase our revenue so we can maintain the programs and even expand programs. We want our staff to get the very best compensation plan and package that we possibly can. And that means you got to have the revenue to support that, because we want to be competitive, and we've got great people working for us, and we want to take care of them. So all of the, there were a lot of pressure points, DV, a lot of pressure points, and trying to find the best path forward, again, to protect our student programs and the student experience. You got to have teachers and staff to serve the kids. You've got to have leadership to serve the kids and the staff, and just looking for what are the options. And that's when we had those conversations. And yeah, there were some difficult conversations, but everything was on the table and trying to figure out the best path forward.
Dr. Tim, Ryan, I'm sorry, no, I made you a doctor. No, sir. That's
call me Ryan. I tell Dr. Belding that all the time. It's Ryan.
Ryan. Yeah. I'm sorry. I was being respectful. I even added a doctor to it. But Ryan,
yes,
as the political leadership on the political side of this. When you were presented with this stuff, how did how was the board taking this in? And when you guys finally did get together and you took all this in, what was your charge to Dr. Belding?
When we first looked at it, and that's one of the great things about Dr. Belding, about Dr. Metzger, the rest of the team, they gave us lots and lots of options. We looked at, they overturned every rock that they could, tried to find every penny that we could. Like Dr. Belding said, the whole staff, everybody in MISD tried to cut as much as they could so that we could keep without students feeling the effect of these things. But the charge that we gave him was, because one of the hot topics was student transfers. Are we going to open it up and let people come in? And at first, it was kind of, we'll see. But then we heard back from the community. You talk about the political side. We are here representatives of the city of Midlothian, and I got phone calls. Lots of board members got phone calls and said, heck no, we can't do that. And unfortunately, we had, a Vader that did not pass last year that put us in the place where we had to look at those things. And so we had to look at taking in those possible transfers. Luckily, things came about where we didn't have to do it. And we spoke up and felt pretty strongly towards that, because it was what we from the community, that they didn't want that to happen. There were too many unknowns of how do we know that the student that on paper is the student that we're going to get. I trust and know that Ms. Tipton, Dr. Williams, and the different people in the administration would come up with policy that would make it work, but we didn't want to have to. And so that was the first charge that we said, let's figure it out without that. Let's move forward without that. And then because of the hard work of the whole team, we were able, and some good things that happened and things that fell our way, it balanced a little bit better for last school year. But when you look at this school year, we're back in that same deficit, and we're back facing some of those same decisions. And so therefore some more hard decisions here in the next couple weeks, couple months are going to be made. And again, we're going to reach out and ask for the help of our community to back us when we make these decisions.
Talk to me about the number. What did the number end up being? Because we started this conversation at 6 point something, if there was teacher raises and stuff. So what did the number end up being at the end?
For 24-25 or 25-26?
25-26, because I heard somewhere, and mind you, I tried to keep up with all these numbers, but that there was a $1.2 million little surplus in 24-25, but that there was some expenses that she had to pay, like that came out to, so it ended up being like $200,000 that you guys ended up having from the 24-25 budget that was left over. 25-26 was supposed to be that big number.
And 24-25, we're really projecting now in the 700,000 range in the black, I would say. And the big reason for that is the staff worked really hard on utility costs and lowering those. And there were some other moving pieces in school finance, but the district owned 3 acres, and the board decided to sell that. And that's like a one-time revenue source, but that revenue has helped us to be able to balance for 24-25. So, and really happy about that. And again, thank you to the staff for working so hard to bring those numbers down and to get us to balance ultimately. But looking ahead to 25-26, and I'm going to tell you, with House Bill 2, okay, with what we know about House Bill 2 right now, and anytime there's some significant school finance legislation like House Bill 2 passed, it takes months to really vet through what the impact is going to be. There's a lot of moving pieces. There's a template, we call it the template, that's a revenue projection tool that's produced. And the person that does that is a brilliant guy. But he's already, since that legislation was signed into law, he's already on version 5. So over about a month, they released 5 different versions because of all the tweaks in the law and adjustments within that. So right now we're projecting, with House Bill 2 included, a deficit of about $3.3 million. right now.
3.3 when everything's said and done. Now, I know that with House Bill 2 or something, they did they lowered or they upped the homestead exemption, and I heard something about harmless. Most of that ends up being harmless, where they make up the fund. So the schools are not going to lose funds with that homestead exemption that the state passed.
That's correct, and it's up to the voters whether or not that homestead exemption happens. It'll be on the ballot in November.
Yeah.
I would anticipate it passing.
I think, yeah, you could count on that, like the sun coming up.
Yeah,
I think it's got a good shot.
Yeah, I think it's got a good chance. That's right.
One of the things that go into school finance too is the amount of students, your daily attendance, your WADA, and I don't want to get too technical, but that all has something to do with it. Now, in previous years, maybe they were a little too aggressive on the estimates of the growth on it. You during the preliminary talks, you said you wanted to stay somewhere in the 1-something percentage. You guys decided on 2. Mr. Tim, what do you think about that 2% growth? And then the growth numbers ended up coming back, and they were a little bit higher than 5. Or can we talk about that? How that came?
Yes, and Dr. Belding says it well. A demographer, they're super smart and they are making educated guesses as best that they can. But again, it's there's lots of factors that go into it. So we don't want to, overshoot that, and so we leave it at a modest level to make sure that we're creating that path really to lead us to more numbers that we think are going to be spot on, because that they're not always exactly correct. We have Midlothian is a place where everybody wants to be. People want to come build their homes here because of things like that great homestead exemption that we provide on top of what is already out there. And so people want to build here. We've got lots of communities coming in, and we don't know for sure what those numbers are going to look like until we see houses actually going up. We see dirt moving, we see things happening. And so we try to do our best to get as close to that as we can, but we also want to hold back a little bit to protect it and make sure that we're getting the numbers as right as we can, really.
Dr. Belding, how was fund balance this year?
We, like I said earlier, because of the land sale, and then so you made a good point about school finance and the average daily attendance, your enrollment, and then your attendance rate to get your average daily attendance and those weights on particular programs that students will have. And so that was some of the additional state revenue that we got over what we projected because we had more students in CTE programs. We had an increase in special ed students. And so those are weighted and that helped there on the bottom line. So we are, again, thinking that we're actually going to come in from 24-25 in the black by about $600,000 to $700,000, somewhere in there. The land sale was a big piece of that. Yeah,
the land sale. I mean, that I was listening about the land sale. I didn't know you guys had done that, and that's a pretty creative thing to use because land is expensive.
Sure, it is, and that particular piece was not big enough for us to build a school or any kind of facility. So we didn't hurt ourselves with like selling a future elementary site. We still have all of those. So it was a 3-acre parcel. So.
Does it look like you're going to receive more revenue this year from just the rolls than you did last year? And is that going to affect your recapture big time?
Okay. Yeah. And our values did go up. Now, assuming the voters approve the homestead exemption, they're going to go up, a smaller percentage than what we have the last few years. And right now, boy, I cannot remember the percentage. Seems like it was in the 4 to 5% range, but I can't remember exactly.
Ryan, the big thing that on the political side is people generally, I don't think there's anybody who loves paying taxes, especially paying more. And then some people are quite burdened by it. And setting the tax rate this year, I'm not sure if you guys already said it or you're going to do a final meeting on that, but talk to me about the board's direction on setting a tax rate right now.
Yes. So we had a special meeting last night, and the direction that the board gave to the administration was to look at setting a tax rate with the possibility of going out for another Vader. And the reason that we did that is because when we look at it, it is not a tax rate increase. The last one, when we attempted to pass it, the tax rate would have stayed the same. The rate would have stayed the same. There was a lot of confusion, people that we talked to afterwards, because of wording on the ballot, and that's set by the state, and they have to put, there's ways that it has to be done. And so as great of a job as Dr. Belding and his staff did, the Belding tours, talk to all the people, unfortunately, we still did. It didn't come back the way that we had wished it would. And I know personally, and lots of other board members have talked to multiple community members, and they're like, yeah, it said tax rate increase. You're like, yeah, because we went up, but we also went down. And so it evened out. We were in the same place. That's me putting it in Ryan Tim layman's terms. Okay. And the conversations that we had after that, people were like, well, I didn't understand that. I'm like, yeah, that was how it was. And so now the direction that we're looking at moving forward, Monday, the 18th, we'll have a public meeting to set the tax rate. And that will be part of our monthly board meeting to see what direction we decide to go, if that Vader is called, to bring in more revenue for the district. It's those famous golden pennies that you always hear that in school finance that Dr. Belding has alluded to already. It's a moving piece. It's always ever changing. It's unbelievably hard to understand for community members, for former educators, current educators, unless you are
dumb podcast hosts.
old PE teachers. We struggle with it. No offense to my PE teachers, but it is a difficult thing, and so we rely on those who are experts at it to help us and help us work through it. But it is a revenue generator, something like a Vader, should that be called. And I can't speak to that because that's still a direction that as a board we are trying to figure out and see if we're going to go that way.